Hello and welcome to GetIndieGaming. Today we're excited to share with you our top 10 picks for games we played during the February 2023 Steam Next Fest. We had the opportunity to try out 50 demos from the festival over a 5-day period. We have to say, this was one of the best Next Fests we've seen so far. After careful consideration, we've selected 10 games that stood out to us the most. Without further ado, let's dive into our top 10 picks. Let's get started, and in alphabetical order. We have A Sister's Journey, one of the standout highlights of the entire February 2023 Steam Next Fest. As a small team, we had our eyes on this game for a while, and were pleasantly surprised to see it pop up as we were scrolling through the hundreds of available demos. The pixel art and gameplay of A Sister's Journey reminds all of us of one of our all-time favourite indie games, Celeste. However, based on the demo, we think A Sister's Journey will be more challenging than the typical Metroidvania. The run-and-gun combat style and dash mechanic are enjoyable. However, none of us made it to the end of the demo. The game is brutally tough, and at times we all found ourselves needing pixel-perfect accuracy, which led to frustration. With its Cuphead levels of difficulty, it's sure to attract players. There's no doubt I'll take delight also in watching speedrunners nimbly make their way across the rooms, but for us, as it stands now, we think A Sister's Journey, without difficulty and accessibility modifications, may be too challenging for our current skill sets. Next up, we have Bleak Sword DX. Although it's been available on the Apple Arcade for over 3 years, it's been a while since we've heard from this, and we're excited to see it in the Steam Next Fest. If you've already played it on the Apple Arcade, you may still want to give it another look because the PC version has been updated. There are new game modes and improvements to the graphics, gameplay and control systems. Bleak Sword DX is a dark fantasy adventure that proved to be a real challenge. A challenge that I really enjoyed, although there were moments that felt a little bit cruel. Some of the enemy AI felt hyper accurate, but this could be due to my lack of skill playing such games, with this reminding me of the battlers of the Dark Souls franchise and of late, Elden Ring. I'm also a huge fan of the art direction, and the black, white and red colour scheme is consistently pleasing. The controls are tight and precise. Definitely get hold of this if you still can, and while the video goes to air, the demo is still available. The rise of so-called wholesome gaming, and in particular such feel-good, warm and fuzzy platformers, was well represented at the February Steam Next Fest. From all of those, the one I personally enjoyed the most was Mail Time, which looks to merge simple and intuitive platforming with collecting and plenty of animal interactions. The demo is rather charming, and I adore the softness of the pastel colours and the all-round cuteness of everything that's going on here. As far as the gameplay, aside from the platforming, there are plenty of A to B fetch questing, which, as recently pointed out to me with a colleague when discussing the game, is kind of what you'd really expect from a mail type of delivery offering. While truth be told, some of the platforming in the demo was hit and miss, there's plenty potential with Mail Time, which is expected to come out this year on PC and the Nintendo Switch. Coming up next, and to my mind, the most enjoyable first-person shooter on offer at the Next Fest. MEATGRINDER is a frenetic shooter that's inspired by classic action movies such as Mad Max, with it also taking the best elements of retro shooters such as Doom and Ultra Kill, with added truck jumping mechanics as seen in Cluster Truck. Now, I really enjoyed this. It's such a thrilling and captivating experience with a wonderful premise where you must keep on the move. The slower you are, the lower your heart rate. If it goes too low, you die. This means you're constantly needing to drive forwards while you jump, dash, and do all you can to move from vehicle to vehicle. It's also such a fulfilling experience, and as shooters go, the controls are like melted butter smooth, with you able to move about the place with accuracy and precision. I'm also a big fan of the game's visuals and how the developers have been able to create something as intense and moreish as I see here in MEATGRINDER. As I said in the intro, if you like the look of any of these games, please head over to the Steam homepage and add them to your Steam wishlist. You can find links to all of these down in the video description. I've featured this game previously, although I wanted to share again having played its demo. Planet of Lana is a companion-based cinematic puzzler where you play as a young girl with a friend to keep you company. As far as I can tell, the demo from the Steam Next Fest has you play from the start of the game, with it introducing you to the various things each of the two characters are able to do. For example, your pal is somewhat more sprightly than you, meaning they are able to jump to higher places that you're able to reach before usually undertaking some sort of action to help you join them, and so on and so forth. I've never really been a fan of companion-based games, as the AI has often left me frustrated when they fail to do as asked, or when they wumble away in a direction I don't want them to be in. However, there was none of this here, with the two characters easily controllable around the demo's game world. I had an issue in a live stream when playing this whereby I was unable to complete one of the puzzles, although having gone back to it again, I think that was largely user error on my part. So yes, I'm looking forward to playing more of Planet of Lana to see how everything progresses, particularly with the companion-based puzzling and overall story. Planet of Lana is due out in Q2. Up now we have Oblivion Override, a game I only recently discovered that immediately caught my attention. From the get-go, it seems like the developers have taken inspiration from Dead Cells, not only in terms of the visual style, but also in its gameplay, and quite honestly, I'm all for it. Despite my plan to spend just 10 minutes playing each game, Oblivion Override had me hooked from start to finish. The game's real standout feature is its fun and diverse weapon system, each weapon having its own unique attack patterns. For example, the melee attacks, especially using knives, were particularly satisfying. The controls are fluid and intuitive, with air dashes, double jumps, and wall rides feeling natural, and incorporating them into the combat is pure joy. The game's art style, as I alluded to earlier, is also impressive, as is the soundtrack, with it complementing the visuals perfectly. I have a feeling that Oblivion Override is going to be a little gem of a game, especially for fans of side-scrolling roguelikes. If you're looking for a fun, action-packed game with a diverse and satisfying combat system, Oblivion Override is definitely worth checking out. I, for one, can't wait to see what the full game has in store. I'm hoping this comes out later in the year, with the game listed as coming soon on its Steam homepage. Next up we have Tape to Tape, a roguelike ice hockey game that's sure to appeal to both fans of the sport and those who are simply looking for something new and exciting in the genre. I haven't played a hockey game in years, probably not since the EA franchise on the Mega Drive, which is going back somewhat. However, this caught my eye, not really for the hockey-based mechanics, but for the clever way the game plays and pays tribute to Slay the Spire, with it using a similar map of choices. However, what really stands out in Tape to Tape are the fights that play out on the ice as games of hockey, rather than the more usual dueling character animations we normally see in such games. So it's not a simulation game by any means, but from what I experienced in the demo, it still delivers a solid representation of the sport, complete with its own brand of humour which works more than it falls flat. As mentioned, I played over 40 demos during the festival, and Tape to Tape was easily the greatest surprise. I urge all of you to check it out and experience the unique blend of roguelike mechanics and ice hockey actions. One of the most requested games from viewers via our mailbox is up next. Shadows of Doubt is a sandbox detective story where everything is procedurally generated, and the first hour I spent with it was an intense and in places an overwhelming experience. The demo begins with you awakening in your apartment to find a note having been slipped under your desk. You're soon off looking for a missing person, and before not too long, I found myself investigating a murder scene. The game's certainly ambitious and is huge in its scale. You're able to roam the city and go into every building. Seemingly nowhere's off limits, with you able to talk to people, break into security systems, and generally probably do everything a real-life detective can do and probably shouldn't do. The demo runs for 90 minutes, and once the time's up, well, I began again. Of course, given this is all procedurally generated, everything is different with each playthrough. I'm not too sure when Shadows of Doubt is coming out, however the Steam homepage does say it's coming out soon. Up next, and something entirely more relaxing and laid back. Townseek is an adorable looking exploration game where you take command of an airship to discover the lost legacy of Sir Reginald Sharkingston. While you travel, you discover new towns, trade with the locals, and even partake in a spot of fishing or collecting fruits. I found myself simply pottering about the place within the half hour or so I spent with it. I got lost in the art of not doing much, but I really enjoyed the overall atmosphere, which is finely shaped by the art style and the soundtrack. I've not heard or seen too much noise on this one so far, so here's hoping this little mention gets a few more eyeballs on this gentle and beguiling looking game. It's coming out later in the year. In the last game of this rundown, you assume the role of Dracula's youngest child, who's opted for a peculiar lifestyle of growing food and consuming his own veggies instead of indulging in human blood. Voltaire the Vegan Vampire is a charming action-packed roguelite that will have you carefully tending to your crops during the day while fighting off your father's monsters who are constantly lurking around in the graveyard at night, which also happens to be owned by one of your uncles. The game's mechanic of allowing players to choose between retaining their hard-earned loot or their gained skills upon dying adds a layer of strategy to the game, compelling players to be mindful of their character's progression. Initially, I found the game quite challenging, struggling to fend off my father's ferocious beasts and to protect my harvest. However, once I got a handle on the basics, I found the game to be highly engaging, with the game mechanics falling into place seamlessly. The game's playful approach to the concept of vampirism and the combination of farming and action elements makes for, well, what for me feels like a unique gaming experience that's definitely worth trying out. Keep an eye out for Voltaire the Vegan Vampire upon its early access release later in the month. So which of these are you looking forward to playing? Drop me a note in the comments, and if you haven't done so already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Many thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another indie game video.